Why haven't you become Muslim yet? Is there any confusion? Is there still any doubt? So last time I gave a couple of verses that I think would help in this decision-making process, and it should help because they're very clear verses. One verse, and these verses are from the Quran, which we as Muslims believe are the words of God. The Quran is revelation from God himself. And one of these verses, it says, he says, and whoever chooses a religion other than Islam, it will never be accepted from him. And in the hereafter, he will be from the losers. In another verse, he says, indeed, the religion with God is Islam. These are two very clear verses. Now, not only are they very clear, but the author is God himself. The one who's saying these words is not just any man, but it's actually God himself. You can't get clearer than that. You can't get better than that. There is no other religion on the face of the earth where in that religion, the God of that religion says that that religion is the true religion. No other religion. There's no mention of Christianity in the Bible, for example. There's no mention of Judaism in the Torah, for example. And in any other religion, in all other religions other than Islam, there's not a single verse where God mentions that religion at all. This is very clear. It's very clear that Islam is the true religion. There's no way anyone could argue this point. If you have a book that makes the claim that it is comprised of the words of God himself, his verbatim words, not the words of man, it's not being paraphrased. These are the exact words of God. How could anyone reject this book and then at the same time accept another book that doesn't make the claim that they are the verbatim words of God? There's no way, for example, a Christian who's objective, who's not being emotional, he could never prove that the Quran is not the words of God. How do you make that claim? How do you say, no, these are not the words of God, but the Bible is? How do you make that claim unless you're using emotion, unless you're using something other than being objective? If you believe God exists, then you have to believe that he can reveal a book with his words. So how can you say, no, the Quran is not the words of God? But the Bible, which doesn't make the claim that it's the verbatim words of God. As a matter of fact, it's comprised of books written by numerous men, not just one or two, numerous men. And as we know, men are prone to making mistakes. And even in that book, there's nowhere in the book where it says that the religion with God is Christianity, for example, or whoever chooses a religion other than Christianity, it won't be accepted from him. So it's very clear. The religion, the true religion is Islam. So why is anyone who is not Muslim, why are you procrastinating? Why are you not choosing Islam as your religion? In the Quran, it tells you the fate of those who die and they did not choose Islam as their religion. Like the verse said before, no other religion is going to be accepted. So there's not going to be a good outcome for this person. So then what happens is, if you don't accept Islam, essentially, as your religion, essentially you are challenging God. And this is what most of mankind are doing nowadays. Most of mankind nowadays, they're challenging God. Most people are really careless about this topic. They're careless about death. They're careless about the hereafter. They believe that, they're hoping that Christianity, for example, or any other religion, they're hoping that religion is gonna be what saves them in the hereafter. And their attitude is, if it's not, no big deal, I'll just deal with it. How can you have this attitude where it's no big deal if I die and I've died upon the wrong religion? I've searched and searched and searched, and I cannot find, and I would love, and I challenge anyone, atheist, agnostic, anyone, to tell me how it's not a problem dying upon the wrong religion. There's no way out. Okay, here are the options. Okay, you die upon the wrong religion, and then you're held accountable for that. You are punished for that by God himself. How do you get out of this? How can you possibly succeed? So the options are, you just say, I don't care. And this is, I've heard this so many times. What if you die and you died upon the wrong religion and then God punishes you for that? And people will say, okay, I'll just be dead. I don't care. Okay, so what you're essentially doing is you're saying you're challenging the creator of the universe. Have you seen all the stars out there in the sky? There's like, what, trillions of stars. And most of them are bigger than the sun. And around those stars, there's planets like we have in our solar system. So we got trillions of stars, probably billions, if not trillions of planets. It would take light years. I forgot the exact number, but you can look it up. It would take hundreds of light years to travel travel through our universe and reach any point that we've failed to discover yet. For example, the universe is vast, so vast, it takes light years just to travel through it. Light years. You're traveling at the speed of light and you're going for years and you've not reached the end yet. This is how vast the universe is. And the creator of that universe, you're going to challenge him to make you care about his punishment. Does that seem like it's logical? Does that seem like it's that someone with intellect could possibly think that? Let me tell you something. The billionaires of this world, the people who are billionaires, the people who are millionaires, the famous athletes, the famous actors, I don't know, the billionaires who own all of the big companies like the one that, like this Facebook or TikTok and all these Microsoft, I don't want to name the names of these people, but we know who they are. Billionaires, multi-billionaires. There's even someone who they say could reach the level of becoming the first trillionaire. One man. They're saying he's probably going to become the first trillionaire in history. But let me tell you a secret about them. There's no chance that they will ever be poor. That's how much money they have. So they've reached they've reached success, basically. They're successful, obviously. They don't have any fear of ever losing their wealth. They're not like, like you have some some athletes and they're like millionaires for like maybe 5 years, and then after that you hear they're broke. No, I'm talking about the multi-billionaires who there's no chance that they're ever going to be broke, okay? But their success is still pending. Do you know what that? Do you know what's still pending with their success? In order for their success to be complete, death has to be what they want it to be. Death has to be what they've envisioned, which to probably all of them, it probably means that when they die, they have to become non-existent. There can't be a God. Allah cannot exist. If Allah exists, then that success that they had that was pending, that one thing, it doesn't work out. They've immediately become failures. They have to live hoping that Allah does not exist. They have to live hoping that God doesn't exist. They have to live hoping that the Quran is not really the revelation sent down from God, from Allah. And this is what the majority of mankind, this is what they're doing. They're living hoping that God doesn't exist, that the God of Islam, which means an all-powerful God who's one, without any partners, without any sons, without any family, without any associate or partner, just one all-powerful God. They're hoping that that doesn't exist. They're hoping, if you're a Christian, you're hoping that some God who has a son exists, who has a Holy Spirit helping them, that all these things exist. But they're hoping that the one all-powerful God, which our common sense tells us that God must be all-powerful, without a partner, without having offspring with his creation, they're hoping that God, that ultimate all-powerful God, doesn't exist. This is not sensible. But the people of evil are trying to misguide the masses into their destruction. And if after I've told you the plot. This is the plot. The plot is, when you're born, okay, we have a newborn baby today. All right, this is what we're going to do. When he's 6 years old, for example, we'll put him into the schools. We'll get him accustomed to music and pork, and we'll put him into a school that's intermixed. We'll let him have a girlfriend, let the girls have boyfriends. We'll give them all their social activities. We'll put them in science class. Then we'll put doubts in their mind that God even exists in the first place. We'll tell them that you can't have certainty in anything that science has not proven. We'll get them used to watching our movies. They'll become a fan of this sports team. We'll tell them you have unlimited access to alcohol in the bars. You can get high. You can smoke cigarettes. What else? Most importantly, no daily requirement to worship God. You don't have a purpose. Make up your own purpose. Now, we'll get them used to that. And we may even tell them about Islam in the school. We'll give them social studies class, for example. We'll say, there's a religion called Islam. We want to make sure that we're the first person that introduces them to Islam, that know that this is not, the true religion. It's just one of those religions that, some people practice. This is the conditioning and programming plan that's in place for you, your children, their children, their children. You'll never be great. You'll never be great. The only thing you're going to do is you're going to live, you're going to partake in our alcohol, in our music, in our sports, in our entertainment, or you'll be introduced to fornication and adultery and gambling. The list goes on. You'll just follow along. You'll fall into all these traps, and then after 6 or 7 decades, you'll die. You'll be thrown into the graveyard, into the graveyard of no coming back, or you'll be thrown into a high temperature furnace. You'll be cremated, and we'll tell you that no problem, because you'll be dead. You won't feel that heat, and you're going to actually fall for this. And this is what they're doing. And then when you die, okay, he lived 60, 70 years. He never found the purpose that he was created for, never found Islam. Very good. Let's move on. This is the plot. Distraction, distraction, distraction until you die. And then you find out, oh, because it's going to happen as soon as death approaches. When you're on your deathbed, death approaches. At that point,